G'day, fans, and welcome back to yet another exciting episode of Talk and Stuff. Believe it or not, we've only got 3 episodes to go, including this one, until we wrap up until the end of the year. Mr. Aron is sitting right next to me. How you going, old son?
We're in December, we're barreling down to Christmas. It's been a busy day, but I love Christmas as well. I love the toys, I love the collectibles, I love it being busy, but today has been busy and hot. What about you?
Oh, look, I'm doing okay. Just getting through the day as best we possibly can because, as you said, it's nice and hot outside. It was raining last week. It was hot the weekend before that. We just can't win no matter what. Now, before we get stuck into the show, we actually do have some sad news to announce. Russell Devlin, who's one of our main regular viewers, announced some very sad news today that his wife, Janet, actually passed away. Most people who are watching the show don't know who Janet was, but I actually knew her quite well because I was actually the best man at his wedding way back in 1992. So I just wanted to say I don't know if Russell will join us tonight. I'll completely understand it if he doesn't. But we just wanted to say that our thoughts with him at the moment, and that hopefully he gets through this very, very difficult time. So that's it. If he does join us, though, which I don't think he will, but if he does, at least with a bit of luck, we can actually have some, put on some classic nerdy stuff, talk about science fiction, which I know he loves, and at least for at least 1 hour, take him out of what is a very, very sad time. So I just thought I'd mention that. Anything you want to add, dude?
No, just our condolences to Russell. I mean, he's been a fan, particularly on the Doctor Who scene for me for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, totally true. All right, so what we're going to do is going to move on. Now, a whole lot of other things going on in the big wide world, of course, in the science fiction thing. And, of course, we're going to have a bit of news. Some of this is news. Some of this is just a bit of joking and mucking around. But let's kick it off by pressing this button. So what can I say? It's very, very groovy. I saw this today. Actually, it might have been a couple of days ago. And I thought it just puts everything into context because we kind of forget we're almost a quarter of a way into the 21st century. And this image popped up. And I absolutely loved it. I don't know who wrote it or who posted it, but it just says, I love old science fiction. They have stories that begin, it's the distant year 2003, and humans are exploring the deep corners of the universe. God bless you, old sci-fi. You had such high hopes for us. Isn't that interesting? Because you sort of forget that back in the 1950s and whereabouts, the 2000s was like, oh my God, that's like so far away. I mean, we're going to be so advanced. And to be fair, aside from the internet and maybe some medical advances, that's it. Then nothing else has really happened, dude.
I know it really puts into perspective. I always think backwards, where in the 80s I thought, oh, the year 2000, that's years away. Now the 80s is 40 years back. That just is crazy, isn't it? I love that old retro science fiction looking rocket too as well. That's a very, very iconic sort of rocket they thought we would be using in the future.
So wouldn't it be funny if you could go back in time and say to these people, okay, this is what you're saying about the year 2000 and 2003 and 10 and whatever. This is what it really looks like, right? We've got freaking wars over here. We've got wars over there. We've got assassination attempts over here. It's all great stuff. The world is awesome, mate. You have no idea what you're missing out on. Oh, geez Louise, or what?
I know. Korea declares martial law. It ends in 3 hours. I mean, it's crazy, isn't it, at the moment?
My dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria. Christy said, I love this one. Forget sci-fi. We watched Beyond 2000 at school. Yeah, that series made you think, oh my God, the future is going to be the coolest thing ever.
Oh,
And now that we're here, it isn't.
Christy, you're a novice. We watched Towards 2000 when I was at school.
We did actually. Yes, we did actually. Towards 2000. Oh my God. What is the future going to hold for us? Well, I'll tell you what the future didn't end up holding. Now, this came out months ago. It might have been even like a year or two ago. Do you remember? And I'm sort of jumping around a little bit here. Do you remember when they did the Obi-Wan Kenobi series a couple of years ago? And even though it had Ewan McGregor in it and Hayden Christensen in it, it was going to be like the greatest Star Wars TV series ever made. And of course, it absolutely got canned big time by a lot of fans. Well, a dude went out there and re-edited the damn thing into a movie, a 2-hour, 20-minute movie. You knew about this and you sent me a copy of it. And I actually watched it last night. The Obi-Wan Kenobi, the Patterson cut. Now, I know, just very, very quickly, and it's probably been a while since you've seen it. What did you think about having the 6-hour show cut down to 2.5 hours, dude? Did it work for you?
Firstly, we watch it in the shop once a week because it's on our so I know it pretty well. I think it works better because a lot of the stuff that I think a lot of fans found annoying is gone.
It does, and for those who, I think you could probably download it out there somewhere. Obviously, where a lot of stuff has been removed, the guy has had to put in just normal music cues from the other films, so it's pretty obvious that there's a change. It does work, but I still think it's too long. I reckon you could probably still get rid of some stuff. And if anything, it does show, in my opinion, how the series really didn't work when it was looked at as a 6 hour show. When it's cut down to 2 hours and 20 minutes, it definitely flows better, but you can still see where there are parts that just don't work at all. But I applaud the guy for doing it. And I think, if anything, forget the series, just stick with the movie. What do you reckon?
The other thing is he's a good editor. He re-edited the order of the flow of the show, and it actually makes more sense in the way he does it, particularly at the start with the other Jedi that turns up on the planet and how that's in a different order from. I can't really remember the original because I've watched this version so many times, but I just remember when I first saw it going, that's a lot better. And a lot of the stuff that didn't make sense, like little Leia being able to outrun all these grown men, is just ended with gotcha at the start kind of thing. So I do think it's a better cut, and there's a few different cuts now. But if you really want to see a different version of it, you can probably Google it and find it, and it is probably worthwhile watching.
Which, of course, prompts the question, why wasn't it made in it as a movie in the first place? Chrissy said, killed off the filler and just left a decent movie. Yes, I did like the fact that at least at the end when they knock off Reva, she's at least left effectively for dead. And that whole thing of attacking the last homestead is all removed as it should have been in the original version. So anyway, I thought I just watched it last night. I thought, look, I'll just bring it up here as a bit of something to sort of quickly chat about before I move on to the next thing that I watched. Now, you put me onto this, and I tell you what, fans, if you need to watch some sci-fi stuff that was made this year and you need to smoke the wacky tobacco to understand it, check this show out, Constellation, right? I tell you what, dude, I got to admit, I did have to push myself. 6 episodes, I think it was 6, and it was a bit of a struggle towards the end. Multiple realities going on at the same time, 2 different timelines. Only the kids can sort of talk to each other. Trippy stuff. What did you think of this, old son?
Well, I recommended it to you because I did think it was a good one. I do love those shows where it ended and I'm like, did that end? Is there going to be another season? I can't really tell. It leaves a lot up in the air and a lot for you to question. It has some really high concepts. And the thing I really like good science fiction shows. And good science fiction shows, I don't mean like Star Wars space operas. I mean the ones that push the boundaries of science fictionally. And this is one that definitely has multi-realities like time warps and Russian space programs and all of this kind of thing, which I really love. So I thought it was a great one that no one really seemed to hear about.
So for those out there, it only went for 1 season, even though it did finish on a pseudo cliffhanger ending. It is definitely something you really need to pay attention to. It's a lot of it isn't in your face, like they just say, here's the answer to this question. You've just got to kind of figure it out as you go along. Very, very adult. The fact that it's in different languages, I think, really works for it, because a lot of science fiction these days is primarily made in England or America. At least this has touches of things in Sweden and in Germany, as well as Russia as well. And that kind of helps sells the concept. But I didn't realize it was made this year until I looked at the date. It came out in February. Don't ask me where you can find it, fans. You're just going to have to look for it yourself. But if you like something that will strain the brain a little bit and make you think, oh, that is really intriguing, where is this going? It's actually quite good. But yes, definitely won't be for everybody, that's for sure. So what do you reckon? Constellation, dude?
I haven't rewatched it, but I actually do think it probably would be quite rewarding to rewatch, because a lot of stuff is happening in different timelines at the same time. So you're watching stuff in one episode that hasn't happened yet, but happens a couple of episodes later, and there's almost layers of reality on top of each other. And I do think it might make more sense on a second viewing. But there's so much out there to watch, I haven't had a chance to do that yet.
Yeah, that's the issue, isn't it? Finding the time to do it. I made a point because I found it in my folders, and I go, oh look, Aron gave this to me ages ago. I really should check it out. And like a lot of shows, it starts off on a very, very obvious path, and then it just goes, all right, it's kind of freaking me out now. I don't know what's going on. I'm kind of losing it, but I'll stick with it because I'm intrigued. But it's frustrating. And I was even going to suggest it to Lynn, my other half, to watch it. And at the end, I go, nah, she's just going to get frustrated and walk away. It's like, I don't understand. It's too confusing. But that's part of its charm, old son.
Yeah, there's a few good things out at the moment that we're watching, I think.
Yes, there is actually. One of them we'll be talking about very, very soon. Very interesting stuff. On a completely unrelated note, just of course, as always, there's always these pictures and interesting gags that come out around the place. This one popped up and I go, it's great, but I don't get it. And of course, it's the old someone did a xenomorph as a duck. Dude, it looks grouse, but why?
I don't know. You should have had it squeeze me, Sarah, shouldn't you? Really, a xeno.
Oh, I get it. I just realised what it is. Maybe it's meant to be, instead of a yellow plastic duck that you have in the bathtub, this is what a xenomorph has. When it takes a bath, it has a xenomorph duck. What do you reckon?
It could be like rubber ducky that sort of then like just slices you up and kills you in the bath. There are a whole range of ducks. It's one of those things where someone's taken rubber ducks, which people collect, and they've got all these pop culture ones. So you can, for example, get Doctor Who, and you can get the Blues Brothers, and you can get all these other science fiction and pop culture reference style ducks. So I'm not surprised they've done the one. That one is a particularly cool looking one, though.
It does look very, very good. Rubber ducky. I didn't even think of the bloody terminology. Got a hotline joining us from the Ukraine. A favourite guys, absolutely fantastic. Clearly, there's slim pickings regarding menfolk in your part of the world there. If we're your favourite guys, but that's all good. And as to why you should make a xeno duck, why not?
Why not?
Indeed. It does look good, yes, a rubber ducky. So the thing is, as you squeeze it, instead of squirting out water, it squirts out the blood that sort of acidizes through the bath and all the rest of it. Is that right there, dude?
Yeah, I think so. It's like you can just imagine terrorizing a little kid by putting like a 4-year-old and the duck in the other end, and it slowly bobs across the bath towards the kid, and the kid's yelling, "Get away from me, you bitch!"
No, dude. When they hold the duck to its face, the mouth opens and the other second jaws come out. Love it. Donald Duck's love child. I doubt that indeed. Very cool. And just sticking with the alien theme, once again, I don't know who produced this picture. I thought it was quite funny to do with Christmas elves. I don't know, that just kind of worked for me. So you got the face hugger on the top and the chest burster at the bottom. You know, what the hell? It kind of works for me. What do you reckon, dude?
I think it's one of the cool things about the internet. There is a whole new level of comedy. It's like when you're doom scrolling through Facebook, occasionally some funny stuff does come up.
Well, sticking with that, because Christmas is in a couple of weeks' time. I kind of forget we're in December now and it's Christmas and what and so on. A couple of games have popped up. Of course, these aren't real ones, or they've been real games that have been modified for the comedy element. The first one is a bit more horror than sci-fi by a long shot, but I like that. It's the Overlook Hotel from The Shining. I got to admit, I just thought that was really, really funny. I just had a laugh at that, and kids pouring in all the blood, and I think the two girls are in there somewhere. What do you reckon about this, dude? Come over to your place and play The Shining one night.
I saw that anytime you like, Dags. I saw that when it actually came out on Facebook. It might be one of the groups we in. Someone shared it, and I thought it was quite funny. It is one of those things where, do you know what? They start as a joke, and then someone produces it, and it's a niche thing, and they sell 5,000 units.
Tell you what, that's exactly, you're what, you'll be crowdfunding that, and there'll be millions of the damn things. All right, now, before I show you the next picture, this is even a question for you. I need the name of the machine, okay? Right, okay. It's the Blade Runner test. I don't know why they've got two A's in the name, both in Blade Runner and in Classic, but it's the replicant detecting machine.
It's the John Voight text. The Voight.
Oh, you're close. You're close. Where does a John? There's no John in it, you knob. So, no, but you're so close.
I remember stuff by association, and I remember the name of that machine is John Voight something Camp. The Voight Camp test or something like that.
You know what? You are so close to getting the keys to the car. Oh, without Googling it, fans, does anybody know what this is called? If anybody Googles it, they get sacked. So what do you reckon it's called? I saw this and I thought, oh, that's awesome. You can play, and as someone once said, oh yeah, cigarettes not provided because everybody smokes in Blade Runner, especially during this sequence. The John Voight thing, you're very, very close. So nobody's put in through an answer yet. You're very close. It was the Voight Conf test. And I didn't have to look that up. I already knew it. So how much of a nerd am I?
There you go. My memory was a little bit there, but a bit hazy on that one.
No, it's okay, along with that smoky stuff. But I reckon that's great. It's a Blade Runner, the replicant test game, which is kind of cool. So you got to say, if an insect's crawling on your arm, you swat it, and you know what happens if
I know the best question. If you see Colin Parkinson on his back beside his wheelchair, and he's in the sun and he can't turn over, do you help him back into the wheelchair, or do you run off with the white wheelchair and sell it?
With his white his white tummy baking in the sun. Oh dear, that's wrong, dude. But you are right, yes. So Leon wouldn't turn it over. He doesn't know. Do you write these questions, or someone write them for you, Mr. Aron?
Here's something interesting to do with Blade Runner this week as well. There's a new virtual reality that Steam or Valve are putting out, which is one of the big software companies, and their secret codes for it were Deckard and Roy Batty. So there has been all this chatter online about Deckard and Roy Batty, and no one knows what it was. And Deckard is the name of the headset unit, and Batty is the name of the controllers. So they were using Blade Runner as a code for a new gaming system that's coming out.
Very, very cool. I just like this. I've got to put the quick picture back up. What's worse, the kid's hairstyle or the underage? I didn't even notice that. I mean, what's this bit sticking out? What's the deal with that, Mr. Aron?
That's right. Isn't that Rachel? Like Rachel's hairstyle? She's
Maybe
got
it is,
very 50s or 40s looking hair. Do you see Colin's reaction? That actually proves that he's a replicant.
And I like with Rachel, she had the shoulders that went straight out. I mean, how much padding do they have to put on those shoulders to do that? So, very good. Oh, here we go. Do we have to go get a giant spatula and flip him over? Oh, cop that. Jeez,
no, don't be cruel. You just get hold of him and rip him really hard.
Get on with it. All right, move on. People who are watching this in replay got no idea what the hell we're talking about. It is okay. We're going to keep on moving. This one also popped up. I reckon is absolutely grouse. It's a Han Solo and carbonite refrigerator. I mean, how good is that, Mr. Aron? I mean, the thing is,
what?
Hang on. When you put your food in there, right, it just never goes out of date forever because. Go on.
All the drinks are carbonated, but that's actually for real. You can actually get actual decals that you can stick on a regular fridge of that. So that's actually a real product you can get.
But that's not stickers. This has actually been carved into it. It's 3-dimensional, as you can tell. Like that, that's not a sticker. That's actually, like you can tell from this angle here. It's a poor picture because it was moving, but that's actually been, that's a 3-dimensional thing. So,
Dad,
how grouse is that, Mr. Aron?
Do you want one that you can buy for $20 off of AliExpress, or do you want one like this is going to cost? That's the one they advertise on AliExpress, but when it actually rolls up, you're like, I didn't order this thing in a cardboard tube, and when you open it, it's like you stick it on your fridge, and it's not the actual real fridge. We all know about those experiences.
Well, one thing I've got to ask you, because his hands are in the groping position, if you happen to be a well-endowed female going to get a beer from the fridge. It could be a case of it's like, what is the deal with the hands, man?
The hands is so when you come in with your shopping, you can get Han to hold it while you unload it into the fridge.
God, jeepers creepers, unbelievable. So yes, I just thought it was funny that they're like this and they're in that position. I reckon that's kind of funny. Yeah, go on.
That's getting a hand job.
It is indeed. Anyway, we're going to move on from that because we're about to get sacked. All right. Another picture that came up, someone posted this. I reckon it's kind of cool. Shame Gav's not watching. He's not around much these days. Yoda having to kill all the nasty Christmas things there, which I thought was kind of cool. So just a nice.
So is that Yoda getting rid of the Halloween decorations and officially declaring it's Christmas?
I don't know. Maybe it is, which is absolutely fantastic. Anyway, so guess what? We've actually got. We're still going with all this stuff. I have to bring the whole show, the tone of the show down, because I got to press that button.
Doctor, hey, the TARDIS. Doctor, hey, the TARDIS.
Oh my God, every bloody week I got to push that button because guess what? We're talking about a bit of Docky Who, but this is actually really cool stuff, Mr. Aron. You brought this up. Now, you have posted this on Facebook, but not everybody would have seen that. And I agree with you, Chris. It is Sithmas, not Christmas, which is very, very cool. You're going to be talking about this particular item, Mr. Aron. So what is so cool about this?
I know this is how fast the news cycle is. This has all come and gone since last show. But I was browsing as one often does in their spare time, Facebook looking for eBay looking for Dalek toys, and this set of Dalek Skittles from the 60s turn up. And the amazing thing about that is a carded boxed sealed set has never turned up ever. That's the first one ever. No one even knew what the header card looked like because so hard to find are they. You can see in that picture above, I've had 3 in my collection. They're the Dalek Skittles. Never had a full set of 6. Didn't even know if it was 6 or 10 because a full set's never turned up on a card. So this turned up in the week and I thought, you know what? I'm going to try and win this. So when I first saw it, it was up to $70 Australian, and I thought this is going to go for a bit of money. So I loaded a whole lot of stuff onto eBay to get some extra funds to raise some money to put towards this. And I even sold the Toll Toys Boba Fett that we highlighted last week because although that's a cool thing to own, this is cooler. So overnight it jumped from $70 up to, yes, well, you can see it wasn't exactly a little gradual rise. I went to bed when it was $70, and when I got up the next day, it was nearly $2,000. So I realized it wasn't just going to be Boba Fett. It was going to be a couple of Hot Toys, Voltron, a couple of other
couple
things.
Of kidneys.
Yeah, I did that. Funny you say that. I said to a friend that the next day, how much are kidneys going for on eBay? Because so I thought, well, I'll keep going. I've got a whole week to add to my war chest. And then, of course, it jumps up a bit again. So we're up to 3,000. So that's like 4 or 5 Hot Toys I sold, a Boba Fett, some Nintendo games and a whole bunch of other stuff. But I was still in with a chance. But everybody knows everyone keeps their powder dry until the last 5 minutes of the auction. Now, does anyone, before we reveal it, want to guess of how much it went for? And I'm just going to put it out there. My limit was $5,000. I was going to go up to $5,000 for the crappy Skittles.
Really? Really?
Yeah.
Seriously? Wait, hang on. If you had bought it, would you have resold it or just kept it?
I probably would have kept it and waited for people to make offers and offers and offers until I got one that I was happy with.
Yeah. See, most of the people who are answering actually have seen your Facebook page, so they already know the answer. But for those who have no idea, especially those watching this on replay, it went for a whopping... Look at that, Mr. Aron, 10.5 grand.
10,000. I was like, that went for more than my flipping shoebox. So that was a lot of money on that. So it went for double that I was prepared to pay for it. But I was looking at maybe flipping it for that much because I did think it was probably worth about that much. But I've got to say, in the current economy, and if you watch collectibles, it is very rare for anything science fiction to be reaching those prices anymore. That is a really unusual auction. So that's why I asked Dags if we could bring it up in the news, even though we don't want to be talking about Docky Who every single week.
No, we don't. Yeah, that is pretty astounding. And of course, chances are whoever owned this thing and put it online had no idea what it would be worth. Sorry, just quickly, and there would be people out there who missed the auction who would have said, I would have paid 20 grand for that. So you just don't know. But
yeah. So it was found clearing out a house in a little island off the coast of Scotland. So someone who probably found something good and got a couple of $100 for it probably chucked on this on eBay thinking they were going to get $50, and they ended up getting like a really nice holiday overseas or a secondhand car or something like that. It's pretty decent for someone finding it in a house clearance.
Or as Colin said, it was enough for a divorce lawyer. So, sorry, honey, you've got to go. I've just got to get myself some bowling Skittles. So yes. That is just, that is pretty mind-blowing. So in terms of what it would have been worth originally when it was first released, probably decades ago, to what they're sold for now, that's pretty damn impressive. Glennis said, it must be nice to have money. Well, I don't have it, and Aron doesn't have it, so I'm sure someone out there has it. That's the reason why Aron didn't get to buy the damn thing. So, but one thing that, now it's kind of funny, Karan's not with us tonight, and he actually asked me to promote this, right? So as you know, you've got your store, the fantastic Aron's Collectibles out in Blackburn. But the action this weekend, even though I'm going to be at the store with you, is not at your store. It's actually next door. Because even though normally we would have a Sunny's Saturday, which last week, I've got to say, was very, very successful and very enjoyable, despite the fact it rained a little bit. Forget that. Now, 5 o'clock is the kickoff time because next door at the coffee shop, which is literally right next door to you, there's going to be a Christmas party. And Karan said that everybody's invited. So if you're a regular to the shop, and it helps if you definitely live in Melbourne, after you've been to your shop, dude, chuff on next door to what they call Lush, which is the name of the coffee shop, and go and have a bit of a party. What do you reckon, Mr. Aron? Coffees, collectibles, and Christmas, as well as cholesterol. How good is that?
I know, it's adding everything together. Yeah, I think they do a Christmas party every year, and it's always a good get together with everyone in the area and a bit of fun. And hopefully everyone's able to come. And we're open till 6, so there'll be a bit of a crossover, won't there?
Absolutely, there will be, which is very cool. And just last, I saw this today. Someone did this as a bit of a joke. I really loved it. If you read the top bit, it says tables are for eating customers only. And of course, the image is from the Twilight Zone to serve man, where of course, where they would eat the people. Just a nice little gag. Tables are for eating customers only. How good is that, Mr. Aron?
No loitering. So basically, all the loiterers moved along into my shop.
Yes, exactly right, which is very, very cool. Anyway, we're going to move on to our first topic of the night. This came out a couple of days ago. We're going to avoid spoilers, okay? There's only 2 episodes. There's really nothing to spoil because the whole thing is unbelievably predictable, realistically. Aaron and I have not discussed this at all as to what we thought about this. But firstly, we're just going to flip through some pictures. Mr. Aaron, what did you think of the old Skeleton Crew episodes 1 and 2?
Not bad, better than the Acolyte. A bit different for Star Wars. They obviously shifting the gears totally with the direction they're going. More a show for kids that adults can enjoy rather than a family show, I would say. But not bad. What did you think?
You know what? I got to say, because clearly you are right, it is aimed at a children's audience. And I actually found it, for what it was meant to be, not too bad at all. I quite enjoyed it. The characters were good. The concept was pretty much color by numbers. But I think more than anything, I was intrigued by the where they started off from, the home planet. Because when you remember we saw the trailer, there was always a discussion as to, okay, how does this fit within the Star Wars universe? And that has generated a lot of discussion. I've got a whole lot of pictures to show a bit later on. The guy on the right, Brutus, is the bad guy. I thought he was fantastic. What I couldn't work out, though, is why all the guns look like they're from the freaking 16th century. I didn't get that. I get the whole piratey thing, but that kind of thing didn't work. I didn't understand that. And, of course, Vane over there came from The Mandalorian. But for the first 2 episodes, I thought it set it up quite well, and it was a really good watch.
I think he probably impressed a Predator, who then rewarded him with vintage guns.
Very good. Very, very good. Very, very good. There's really not much to it in the end. It's like the 4 kids get stuck on a ship and get flown out of the galaxy. I don't know. I even know what the names are of the characters. So the elephant dude here, he's actually quite good. A lot of people said he's going to become the new Grogu. So I don't know if he's meant to be a young Max Rebo or that particular species, but it is set within the Star Wars universe, fans, for those who don't know. And of course, the planet they're on is called Aten, which is a really funny pronunciation. And it's like this idyllic utopian planet, which has deliberately isolated itself from the rest of the galaxy. And when they show this wide shot, did you notice that everything's in like circles, the housing arrangement, and they've got the city over there, and everything looks really crystal clean. And there's a lot of discussion as to the environment these people live in, whether it's controlled by some central government or whether even the people themselves are aware that there's even a galaxy outside of their own planet. But it certainly looked pretty good. What do you think? What do you think?
Well, the thing that I liked about it as an adult, if you watch a kid's show and it's entertaining, fair enough. This has to be the Star Wars show with the most references and Easter eggs to other Star Wars shows I've ever come across. Even at Aten hails back to the first drafts of Jedi, where one of the planets had Abaddon, which is very similarly. Yep.
I'm going to cut you off. Had Abaddon was the original name for Coruscant. So there you go.
Yeah, so there is a lot of stuff. There was stuff that just made me chuckle. I don't know if you saw this. The pirate, like the robot that comes back to life, and it's like the first mate. Did you see his name? It's like Smee. SM.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. Yeah.
is Smee, like the pirate from
I
Hook.
gotcha.
And I was like, this has got them all over the place. I did think you were saying about the planet and how it's in circles and very clean. When you go to Disneyland, you can go on these cars that are on tracks, and it actually reminded me of the look of the car ride from Disneyland. There was a lot of stuff there. There was for a kids show, there was a lot that worked for me. I'd heard a bit negative stuff about it before, but when I watched it, I was like, Oh, look, that's the Spaceballs scene. Did you pick that up?
No, I'm too busy.
No,
I'm looking at Colin's cop. Yeah, funny enough, SM33 is the name of my mouth. Also medication. Oh God, there you go. No, I didn't. Sorry, guys. Keep going, dude.
Oh, just the whole no, Lord Helmet. I didn't catch you playing with your dollies again.
Oh yeah.
So I was pleasantly surprised. The other thing, there were new musical notes that actually reminded me of Goonies. There was a lot of scenes that reminded me of Goonies, actually. So I thought it was actually better than I thought it was going to be.
This is a cool moment because at the time you're thinking, okay, how well do these guys know in the Star Wars universe? And they kind of reenact the bit from Empire, actually, where Vader cuts off Luke's arm, even though, of course, these kids wouldn't really know that. And I was looking for all these clues to say, okay, what is the deal with this entire environment? Like the school kids there and the uniforms that they wear. And it's unknown as to how it fits in with regards to the rest of society, how controlled it is, because the kids are obviously having a good time. But is it a really, really locked down sort of like dystopian government? And we don't really sort of know that at this stage. But there was a lot of really good imagery, beautiful visuals. Some of the visual effects were fantastic. And like the world building, like the cities here at Aton, looked spectacular. And I was looking around. I said I couldn't see anything that gave the indication that it was like a decrepit neighborhood or there was like graffiti or rubbish, except for the ball of metal that the kid kicks later on in his neighborhood.
Yeah.
But all the public transport looks good. It all looks very, very slick and shiny, which was very cool. And I thought the 4 characters. So you got the 2 girls here. You got the kid and the elephant dude. And they've all been given some kind of character sort of story to work with. And it all seems to work quite well. You're right. It is very, very Goonies orientated, which was to be expected. So I don't know. I thought it kind of worked okay. And of course, the father in this instance, it's the typical dad, just too busy working, not paying attention to the kids. You can understand why they want to go out and be on adventurous trips and everything. So yeah, Shane said Rugrats in space didn't kind of work for him. Okay, I kind of got that. Was it the home planet was lazy? It was just like hopefully in 100 years. Well, that's exactly right. Christy said predictable. Oh, yeah, absolutely 100% predictable. There's no denying that at all. So yeah.
Now some of the things I noticed. Did you notice on the planet there was no classic Star Wars droids? They were more like the droids from the Disney theme park rides, actually. And the other thing is where the droids on the planet are saying there's no spaceships allowed on or off. So what's happening? So I do wonder if it's some big experiment thing or something. It was very, very different. And I think there's going to be some reveals on another level. And the episodes whiz along pretty fast as well.
Yeah, the second episode is only like 22 minutes once you take out all the credits and whatever else. So one thing I didn't really pick up on until I had a really another look is the fact that the sky, they can't see the stars. So when the kids get in the ship and get out into space, they go, oh my God, we're seeing stars for the very first time. So clearly this place is meant to be isolated from the rest of in this case, the Republic, because they're not even aware that the entire empire has come and gone and whatever else. So I couldn't help but think that maybe the entry for Aton was where Camino was, and of course they've all been removed. And it's just the very sterile look about it. So I think that's actually quite intentional. Whether we learn more about it or not is probably unlikely because they're all off now on their adventures, which I thought was cool. And you had all the special patches that they were wearing on their uniforms and whatever else. Yeah, you are right. It's me. I didn't even register as that. And I thought he's even got a peg leg and everything. And whether you go for the whole pirate talking, I don't know. It's kind of pushing the friendship a little bit, but I kind of get it. Yes, which is.
Do you think this would have been a better series if it was exactly the same and they just said it wasn't a Star Wars series?
Yeah, I think it may have actually sort of appeased the fans a bit more. You could easily take Star Wars out of it. You don't need the Star Wars references at all. And I think that's actually quite significant too. So. Yes, so it is clearly aimed at a family audience, even though the start of the first episode is a bit rough. The pirates come into the ship and, there's even references to A New Hope in certain camera angles and whatever else. And fear not, fans, pirates are bad dudes, right? No matter how you look at it, they are not good dudes at the best of times. I mean, just look at the movie Captain Phillips to reinforce that. There's also a couple of gags referring to the holiday special. I assume you picked up on this. I was trying to get an actual picture from the holiday special. I didn't. Yeah, the dancers, that's replicating what appeared in the original holiday special from 1978, which was a lot of people picked up on that, and they thought it was really, really cool.
Like finally it's acknowledged as canon. There was also the little critter that was from the Ewok movies. So
Teak,
there was
called,
a bit. Yeah. There was I don't know if they were acknowledging, hey, this is aimed at kids because we're pulling stuff from, I guess, the more kid level of the Star Wars universe. But like I said, I didn't hate it. It is a very different vibe from Star Wars. But there have been Star Wars things that I've instantly gone, this is boring, or this just doesn't work. The Acolyte for me was very flat. This was better than the Acolyte for me.
Yeah, it is. It is very different, and for that reason, it could do actually quite well. Chrissy said, "I can see merchandise in the near future. Yeah, possibly. It could pave the way for other shows of the same nature." Just quickly, of course, Jude Law appears right at the very, very end, and there's a bit of question mark as to what his story is. And one thing, just last thing, no one has talked about this at all, and I picked up on this. Is that Gargan? Or if it is, which it may not be, but if it is, it's definitely the same species. From Return of the Jedi's Jabba's palace. She's another one who survived the destruction of the sail barge. So that's Max Rebo, Bib Fortuna, and of course, if it is Gargan. But no one picked up on the fact that she was there, and I saw it straight away. So yeah,
I saw that as well. And maybe she's a Gargan cosplayer or something.
Could be. Yeah,
How could so many people escape from the sail barge? The other thing, which is one of the reasons why I think this show is okay. When you had the book of Boba Fett, and you had the street guys on their scooters and stuff, that was Star Wars done bad. At least with this, when the kids are on their bikes and stuff, it actually feels like exciting Star Wars. It actually feels more like traditional Star Wars than, hey, it's got 30 mirrors on and we can't ride more than 10k an hour kind of thing.
Yep, agreed. All we did now is a cameo from Jack Sparrow. Look, it's clearly going to be heading into all sorts of adventures with the kids. The characters seem good and enjoyable and likable. It's going to be unbelievably predictable. None of them are going to get injured. None of them are going to get killed. They'll eventually get back to Atten, probably get to tell their stories. It's a question of whether they bring the entire pirate fleet back with them or they just return of their own accord. But from an entertainment perspective, yeah, it is entertaining. It's a bit of fun. It's been shot really well. The camera angles are great. The production values are outstanding. You can't fault that. It's just a question as to whether you dial into the concept or not. And we'll see how it goes. And I did like the idea that they've established that in the New Republic, post Return of the Jedi and whatever else, pirates are everywhere in the Outer Rim. So it's we know there's plenty of bounty hunters, but now they know that there's a lot of pirates as well. So that makes a lot of sense when you think that the New Republic will be focusing on the inner worlds, the core worlds, not so much out in the Outer Rim, which I thought was kind of cool.
And here's my guess for the future. Probably going to be wrong, but much like Zardov, you found out in the movie was Wizard of Oz and just a part of the word. I think Adam is actually going to be part of a longer word, and that's just the shortened version of it. And when you hear it, it'll all make sense.
Sounds like Vija. Yeah, exactly right. Anyway, look, the show's good. Either you watch it or you don't watch it, it's entirely up to you. I mean, I don't know about Aaron and myself. We'll see how it goes. I'm not like hanging out for it, but at this stage, I thought it kicked off quite well, and I wish it all the best. Now, funnily enough, actually, this is actually directly about what I'm going to say regarding this next bit, because it's now time for this.
A question.
And this relates directly to Skeleton Crew, amongst other things. The question I've got for you, Mr. Aaron, and this was actually brought up by someone I read yesterday, and I thought, I hadn't thought of that, and this will get the crowd discussing it. Is Star Wars going through a new golden age despite ongoing fan criticism? What do you reckon?
No, I would probably have to say no, because fan criticism is the feedback from the people who really care the most. Now, there was a lot of fan criticism of episode 1 and the prequels, and it has spawned a generation now that do think that that was the golden age. But even those people, there isn't as much of them as there are original fans who love the original trilogy. So the first was a blockbuster, and we've got like a whole generation of fans from it. The prequels were also blockbusters, but we haven't got the same fan group off the prequels as what we got off of the original movies. And if you look at the Disney era stuff, they have, again, released blockbusters, but the cultural impact is no longer there, because when Star Wars came out, there was nothing like it. So there was a huge cultural impact. It actually really did change people's lives. And when episode 1 came along, it was it was the timing where all these movies had come out, but George Lucas had waited, so he says, for the technology to film it to be able to catch up with his visions. And one of the things why episode 1 was a blockbuster and people don't look at it as so much as that now, people forget that that movie was advertised as being loaded with visual effects in every single scene. No other movie up to that point could do that because no one could afford it. I think Jurassic Park probably was the most visual effect laden movie with CGI up to that point. Before that, maybe Blade Runner because of all the visuals for the cities. But they actually advertised episode 1 as you've got to go see it 3 or 4 times just to see everything that's in every scene. So it did have a cultural impact on society, and there's a lot of movies that, have aped that since then. When we get to the Disney era, I can't see anything that they've done that you go, wow, in 20 years' time, we're going to be looking back at that as something so iconic that a generation of fans love those movies so much it changed their life and they've been collecting their whole life. I'm not saying the movies are bad. I just think there's so much product out there now, and some of it, let's face it, is better than Star Wars. It hasn't stood head and shoulders above everything enough for it to be a golden age to that high bar that older Star Wars movies has set in my eyes.
Interesting. Christy has said, hell no, to the nth degree. We are getting quantity rather than quality. It's an interesting one. And of course, historically, we don't know about golden ages until decades have passed. And then people look back and go, oh, this was the golden age of whatever. At the time when it's occurring, you're not aware of it. I don't know. I'm actually on the fence on this one. I agree. Look, the quantity is there and the quality maybe not, but there's a lot of quantity, if that makes sense. And I'm keeping an open mind. Having said that, of course, it'll take decades before people go, you know what, between 2012 and 2025 or whatever it is, that was the golden age of Star Wars. Even if you're right, for the purists, definitely not. And I totally get that. But I must admit, I'm not 100% sure. When I read that comment, someone had mentioned it on a forum recently ago. They said, we're actually living through a golden age of Star Wars, except all the people who hate Star Wars aren't even aware of it. I go, that's a very interesting comment. I hadn't even thought of that. So, I don't know. I'm on the fence, I've got to say.
They might be talking a golden age in that we've got so much Star Wars, we can pick and choose what we like. But I don't think we're going through a golden age that has set a new high bar in standards for anything. The only thing I can think of is when The Force Awakens was released, I think universally it was loved more than the prequels and everyone really liked it. And then it took to The Last Jedi for people to change their minds. I worked through all 3 of those movie releases. Everybody loved Force Awakens, giving like 20% people weren't happy with it. That's a majority. Last Jedi came out and it was 50-50, and that really polarized fandom. I actually loved it, but I wish they'd never made it, because that was the split in fandom that I see that has sort of divided fandom anti-Disney and pro-Disney since. And then you come to the Rise of Skywalker, and it was obvious that they were trying to please everyone and it didn't work.
Yeah, I think what you're missing is the series, the TV series, not necessarily the movies, the TV shows, the multitudes of TV shows that are coming out. So you're right. The films are up and down, but the TV shows, I think, is what this person was referring to. So collectively, between the movies and the TV shows, there's a lot of material there. and you can cherry pick what you don't like, what you don't like. That's the reason why. If it was just the movies, yeah, I agree. No, it's not. But with the films, I think that, with the TV shows, I think there's a valid argument. It really is, even though the franchise is copying an absolute hammering from older fans around the place. So, I know Spank has said this a few times. It's too much Star Wars now. Disney, please stop there. Thank you from the fans. Well, that's exactly right. So, is this right? We're in a golden age because there's so much content to sort of work with, way more than we've ever seen before. As to where it's going to stop, who knows? But here we go. Joe said, in my 70s, absolutely love Star Wars. It doesn't matter what your age is. I think everybody loves it. Even Guy said, I agree, Aaron, nothing has come out. Feels like the day's gone by. So you would have to ask younger people as to what they think. But don't be surprised in a couple of decades' time, people look upon this era as being the golden age. So interesting stuff. Yeah, man.
Quick question for you before we move on. We've been Star Wars fans most of our lives, and you and I, we both love the original trilogy the most. Do you think Disney could produce something to that standard again, or would we be too nitpicky to see it?
No, I don't think Disney can. The problem with Disney is that it has such a tarnished name and has had since 2012, 2013. The films that they did make did upset a lot of people. The destruction of the expanded universe tainted their name. It would also almost like they'd need to have an independent company make a new bunch of movies just to get the Disney name out of it. And I think a lot of people from the very outset would say, I don't like it because it has the mouse associated with it. Even if the mouse isn't making it, Lucasfilm makes it, but it's associated with Disney. And that's why it needs a complete outsider, an outside production company to produce something new for people to say, all right, it's a fresh slate. Maybe it's the old, maybe these guys can fix up what the mouse screwed, if that makes any sense whatsoever. So I don't think they could. Even if they did, there'd be too many critics. Because even when Rogue One came out, a lot of fans loved Rogue One. I knew of fans who did not watch it because they were already put off by what Disney had done with The Force Awakens and Last Jedi. So, yeah.
It is interesting that Disney can't escape their name. We could do a whole show on this. Do you remember in the 70s, people wouldn't go see Disney like teenagers because Disney was the nice studio, and it had like all the cookie cutter movies and stuff. And now it's the other way, where people won't go see Disney because they've wrecked franchises, or they're too, I hate the word, woke and stuff like that.
That's why I think down the track, people will look back upon series like Andor for being the odd one of the group. So you've got all the family-friendly series, and you've got this one which is really, really adult, really, really mature. And even now, when people say, blah, 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 I don't like Disney show, except for Andor. Andor's the standout out of everything. But even Andor doesn't appeal to everyone because of its very, very nature. But, unfortunately, you're going. So that's
in the 80s. Didn't Disney set up an alternate production house just so they could release movies without Disney on? Was it Buena Vista or one of those ones?
Well, I was thinking Touchstone, but that's not right. They did because they didn't want the Disney name associated with it. But even now, because everybody knows they had the license, it already is like they're cursed. Before they even start. And even now, as soon as they announce something, everybody's just jumping, going completely burko over it. So it needs a complete outside bunch of people to do it. So, there you go. Very good. Rogue One was Shakespeare compared to this, but there are people I know who didn't see Rogue One. They just said, no, not interested. By then they're already over it. And unfortunately, that's just the way it goes. So you are right. We could talk about this for a lot longer, but we do need to move on because, Andor works because it is serious and grounded in its realities. And you are right. Most fans love it, but it's not for everybody. There are some fans who won't watch it because it is grounded in its reality. It is a bit too serious. Even Christy, who's watching us now, struggled with Andor, and she watched all of our reviews as we went through them, and she found it hard to sort of get through on many occasions.
Andor gave her many golden yawns, and that's not a good thing her rating system.
No, it is not a good thing. But I tell you what is a damn good thing. It is this. Time to talk about some Toy Stories. So a bit of fun. Once again, Aaron gets to answer the questions that you always ask him about, Mr. Aaron. You get pumped with these questions all the time. And, of course, now it is time to answer this question, which is very, very significant, about what's the best thing you've ever found at a garage sale. Is that right there, Mr. Aaron?
It is. I get asked this all the time. What's the best thing you've ever found at a garage sale? And that is a hard question to answer, because I can tell you, over my life, I have been to many garage sales and found some pretty amazing stuff. And some of the stuff that I find the best things I've found no one else would find interesting at all because they're personal to me. So let's look at the best buy I've ever had financially, because everyone loves talking about money. Now, I don't know if you remember, Dags, I'm sure you would. There was this thing called the Trading Post, and there's a few different ways to go to garage sales. You used to be able to get the Trading Post and turn to the garage sale page and look at all the garage sales, and you'd get out the millways and you'd plot a map, and you'd start at about 6 and you'd move across the suburbs, going to all the different garage sales in order, trying to, in my case, convince my dad to go to as many as we could on the odd chance that you'd pick up some collectibles and stuff. And garage sales, I think in Australia are a little bit different from other places because they generally are inside garages. In America, they have more yard sales where stuff is outside. So you'd go to the garage sales, and I have to say, now you can look on Gumtree and see where garage sales are, and it's the same kind of thing. I have to say, the best stuff I ever found, I never went to a garage sale advertised in Gumtree or in the Trading Post or the Sun or any of the newspapers, because everyone knows those ones are on. The ones where I found all the absolute gems is when I was driving around, maybe even between two, and there's another rackety old sign up that says garage sale this weekend, and it hasn't been advertised anywhere. So here's where my story starts. I had just been married, so it was about 2000, and we were driving one afternoon. So you're never going to find anything in the afternoon because all the good stuff is gone. And we passed a garage sale, and I said to Tennille, can we pull over? I could see the shell of a Castle Grayskull on the lawn. Now, these days, it'd be gone instantly, but back then, He-Man stuff was still around. And it wasn't I particularly collected He-Man, but 80s was the right era to find stuff. So we pulled over, and I bought the He-Man stuff, which was about a couple of dozen figures, and really nothing had accessories and anything, but it was just cheap. So I got the lot for $20 or something. And I said to the guy at the garage sale, you have more stuff? He goes, yeah, I had a massive Transformer collection that sold first thing this morning and all of that. And I said, well, look, I collect Star Wars. Did you have any Star Wars stuff? And he looked at me and he goes, I do, but I forgot I have it. It's still in a couple of boxes in the garage. Are you interested? And I said, yes, indeed. I'd love to see it if you were going to sell it. And they were moving and they said, okay, we're going to sell it all. So they took me into the garage, which was quite well organized. And he went and ruffled around behind some stuff and got about 3 boxes. It was 3 or 4 boxes down. And it was all full of vintage Star Wars toys. Now, the majority of it, the 3 boxes, was kind of like that. That's not the boxes. I just found those images online. But it was kind of like opening the boxes and finding spaceships and toys, and half the accessories were there and half of they were missing. So it was a really good, decent vintage Star Wars collection, except when we opened the last box. And we opened the last box, and it was full of carded figures. And it wasn't just the average carded figures, it was the last carded figures that were ever released. And Tennille, who was there, said to me, the only time I've ever seen you lose your cool when you were looking at a collection was when you pulled out Anakin Skywalker mint on card. And what happened, I said to the guy, do you collect Star Wars? Why are all these ones carded? And he goes, no, it's the absolute opposite. I collected Star Wars with my brother through Star Wars and Empire and a bit of Jedi, and then we got a little bit too old for Star Wars anymore. And you can see on the left of that page, this is a true ad. At the end of the run of Star Wars, Toy World cleared out everything they had left for 99 cents, and it was all the new figures. And he said, my mum, who was a good mum, knew me and my brother collected Star Wars, so she went and filled up a whole box of carded figures of all the ones we didn't have because they were only 99 cents. And we're like, good one, Mum, we don't collect Star Wars anymore. So they just went into the garage and they never got opened. And here's the thing, because I was a dealer at the time, but this was just a garage sale on the wild. We were out actually looking to buy furniture. And here's the thing where you get something and you're like, some of this stuff here is absolutely priceless. What can I do? So I said to him, I'm interested in a lot. How much do you want? And he said the thing I absolutely hate. He's like, make me an offer. And I knew I had $600 cash in my pocket. So I said, how about 500 the lot? Because I thought if he goes, well, that's a bit light, I can go, well, how about 600 and up it? And he looked at me really, really strange. And I was like, oh no, he knows this is really worth a fortune. And he breaks into this amazing smile. He goes, that's more than I've made in the whole garage sale this morning. And he was super happy. He was super happy about it. And I was super happy about it too. So it was one of those things. I got the figure home and I probably kept it for about 5 years. For anyone who knows Star Wars, it is like the holy grail figure. It was only released on the card in Australia. Everywhere else in the world, it was either tri-logo without the coin or it was a mail-away figure. So Australia was the only place you could get Anakin Skywalker. But I don't know if anyone remembers the exchange rate about 20 years ago. The Australian dollar bombed out and it got down to we were like 51, 53 US cents per dollar. And so even though it was worth the same here, I saw the price of Anakin, woof, 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 Anakin going high, woof, 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 higher and higher and woof. And it got to the point where the capitalist dog in me goes, okay, now it's worth double overseas what I could get it for now. And I think the Australian dollar is going to recover. So I put it on eBay for 2,500 US by it now, which was about 5,000 at the time, and it's sold instantly. These are current prices, so you can see now that you have the, what do you call it? You have the, even the backing cards that don't have the card on them, going for thousands of dollars if you can find the Australian one. So that's the best thing I've ever found at a garage sale.
Yeah, when I saw this, the $36,000 at the top, I thought, did you seriously put that up there at the time? And I realized, yeah, that's actually what happened now. Dude, that's absolutely fantastic, man. Absolutely love it.
So there have been, I have had a few stories like that, but the absolute best dollar, and you've got to remember that was, you know, $5,000 for one item. He had about 15 carded Power of the Force figures, an entire set of loose figures with all their accessories, and then a whole lot of ships and stuff like that. That really doesn't happen anymore. That was an absolute fluke. But that was an unbelievable one, not because I got up at 5 o'clock and found it. It was because it was about 2 o'clock in the afternoon where he was packing up and the garage sale was over. And just because I asked the question, he remembered he had more stuff in the garage. So that is my best deal at a garage sale.
Very quickly, did you end up getting any furniture?
Yes, we did. And I tell you something which is really weird, but I think people would understand. I actually carried Anakin around the furniture store with me because I said to Tanu, I'm not leaving this in the back of the car. So
Mate.
I carried my Anakin figure around the furniture shop in Glen Waverley where it was, which seems pretty weird, but it was very important that didn't get broken or stolen or cracked or anything like that.
Do you regret selling it at the time?
No. The thing with me is I've had so many collectibles over and over that I'm more happy when other people get joy out of them. Like I said, I just sold the Toll Toys Boba Fett. That is an item I've always wanted, and I've had it, and that's fine. And it's gone to a collection where someone will appreciate it. There are some stuff I'd probably never sell. It's generally not the really expensive stuff. It's more the sentimental things. So I have really common books that were given to me as presents, which I'd keep just because they were given to me as gifts, that type of thing. So I don't really regret selling anything at all.
That is very, very cool. In regards to selling, for those who don't know already, and you probably should, this is Aron's shop, of course. Be sure to check it out. Don't forget this Saturday, of course, not only... you've got a sale going on for Christmas. Is that right? Every day there's a sale on. Is that right?
What we've done is the Aron's Collectibles Advent Calendar. So every day for December up until Christmas, I open up a different window and it's a different sale. Today it was 2-for-1 comics. Yesterday it was Pops. We're going to have free giveaways, lucky dips, all that kind of thing. Hopefully the giveaways will get better and better up until Christmas Eve when we will have our last calendar opening.
Very cool. So be sure to pop down to the store, especially this Saturday, because not only will I be there, but of course next door, which is just to the left of that photograph, there will be a party on celebrating Christmas time in the cafe next door, which is very, very cool. Mr. Aron, we're up. Our hour is up already. How good is that?
It just flies by, doesn't it? It's unbelievable.
It does. Well, guess what, fans? We've only got 2 episodes left before the end of the year. Then we're going to go on a break, and who knows what's going to happen after that. But so we shall depart for now. Be sure to check out Skeleton Crew if you haven't done so already. Constellation will do your head in. And what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, the Obi-Wan Kenobi Patterson cut. Yeah, if you've got 2.5 hours of your life you can spare, be sure to check it out. Otherwise, we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. We'll have 1 more Toy Stories for the year, which is absolutely fantastic. So get those questions in, and Aron will ask them for you or answer them for you. It should be very, very cool. Mr. Aron, you have a good one. Party hard and rock on.
Good night, guys. Have a good one.